Hi BookTube, I'm here with the Anti-TBR Tag. This is a new tag that's been going around a lot recently and I thought I'd jump on the bandwagon. The original video was done by Nicole and her books and I'll put a link to that down below. So let's jump into it. I've watched a lot of these and I seem to have a lot of the same answers as some people. I guess these are kind of popular opinions about unpopular things. Or, yeah, unpopular opinions that are actually popular. That makes sense. Anyways, okay, question the first. A popular book everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. I'm reading the questions off my screen, that's why I'm looking down. And that's the Sarah J Maas series that I hear about everywhere. Firstly, because it seems like a very YA type book to me, and that does not appeal to me anymore. Like, I still read some YA, but I'm very particular about it. I'm not very much a fan of the YA tropes. And the romance aspect definitely does not appeal to me at all. And I don't have a good track record with liking, super popular and hyped YA books. So I've learned my lesson, I think. Question 2. A classic book or author you have no interest in reading. I don't want to read any more Jane Austen or Bronte novels. I think my opinion about that has been well stated. I have no interest in kind of romance-centered books, which a lot of those tend to be, and especially bad ones. I hated Pride and Prejudice. I've read it so many times, I've studied it, like, don't tell me to, like, I'm not reading it right, because I'm pretty sure, having read it, like, 4 times and written countless essays on it, that I think I know the book pretty well, and I still don't like it. And I don't want to waste my time on another bad book by Jane Austen. Okay, number 3. An author whose books you have no interest reading, or a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading, and I just answered the problematic author, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but Margaret Atwood. She is a problematic author, and I have given her a chance. So I have read the Mad Adam trilogy, and was actually surprised at how mediocre it was. Like, here I was building up, I'm like, Margaret Atwood is like the greatest Canadian author, everyone loves her, she's so famous all over the world, you know, she's gotta be good, she's gotta be good. And I was just like, oh, like, this is okay? Oh boy. I totally disagree that she should be the most famous Canadian author. The initial reason I didn't like her, and that it got my backup, is that she's a genre snob. She didn't want her books categorized as science fiction, although they clearly were. She was arguing that they're speculative fiction, and I was just like, no, they're science fiction. You're writing about dystopia, which I consider science fiction. You're writing about actual science in the Mad Adam trilogy, so it's science fiction. Because they wouldn't be as likely to win awards. That's what it boiled down to. And her misconception was that she said that science fiction is just about talking squids in space. And, like, the ignorance, the blatant ignorance of a writer coming out and saying something like that would just immediately, that was the first problem I had with her. And then this whole stuff came out and I was like, see, I should listen to my feelings about people. I always give people chances, but I should listen to my feelings about, like, these people are not good people. There's this whole kerfuffle with this open letter that she wrote and signed for the University of British Columbia, protesting against a firing of a professor for sexual assault. I mean, she was supporting a guy who was accused of sexual assault. The person who wrote *HANDMAID'S*, okay, anyways. And more recently, she signed another open letter against cancel culture, written shortly after Rowling was exposed as a TERF, so that, you know, kind of the implications, like, read the room, Atwood, like, she's completely out of touch with current culture, isn't that great of a writer anyways, and there are better and less problematic Canadian authors that you should read instead. Rant over. Number 4. And there's also, I'm gonna link a whole video down below that I did about her, because her issue with, there's another issue with her in regards to First Nations in Canada. Just put that out there. I'm gonna link the video. I can't have this video be a rant to get Margaret Atwood. Anyways, an author you've read a couple books from and have decided their books are not for you. And that's going to be Marissa Pessl. She seems like an author that I should love, but I just can't stand her. Or her writing. I don't know anything about her, personally. I feel that the main character in Special Topics in Calamity Physics was like completely unbelievable. I read 40 pages of that book and I was just like, I'm really supposed to believe this? Little girl is like this super genius. But you're just saying things, you're not actually showing me these things. And then I thought I tried Night Film. And it sounded right up my alley, experimental, kind of like thriller type thing. But it was a waste of time. I really shouldn't have finished that book, but it was a hate read at that point. I don't know if you know what hate reading is, but it's just like you hate something so much but you just can't put it down. Because you get that little rush from that hate. Anyways, she doesn't trust her readers to be as smart as she is. And she's not actually that smart because she doesn't trust readers. Anyways, so she had to explain so much that did not need to be explained. So there's this one scene with a bird in an oven, and I was like, oh, okay, the metaphor is obvious. And then she spent a whole paragraph explaining the metaphor, and I was like, you could have just left it at the metaphor. You didn't have to explain it for us. Like, trust your readers to get it. And then there's the transphobia, the homophobia, the racism throughout that book. I'll link my video on that down below because I don't want to go on another rant here. Okay, number 5, a genre you have no interest in or a genre you tried to get into but couldn't. And for me that's romance. And I know a lot of people are picking romance, but for me it's like a different reason. Like, I identify as asexual and aromantic. Like, I just don't get romantic relationships. If it's a subplot and it's not too in your face, okay, whatever. But like, a book about that stuff just has no personal appeal to me. Okay, number 6, a book you have bought but will never read. So this is a recent book. I actually unwrapped it, and I unwrapped it on camera, but then I decided not to include the footage because as soon as I unwrapped it, I was just kind of like, don't think I'm gonna read this. And it's I Will Fear No Evil by Robert Heinlein. And I have a love-hate relationship with him. Like, some of his stuff I really like, but he's also a fascist. And there's some books that I really hated, like Storm, was it? Oh my god, I can't. Starship Troopers. I was like, there's troopers, but it's not stormtroopers. Starship Troopers. And some of the themes he discusses are kind of like fascinating. Like Stranger in a Strange Place. I really enjoyed the discussions in there. And the description of that plot really turned me off. It's about this well-known man who finds out that he's gonna die, so he gets his personality implanted in his secretary. And of course she's like hot and beautiful and all that stuff, and I was just like, oh, okay, like I don't need a fascist's opinion on gender. And especially with the way this book seems like it's going just by the back description. So I decided to not read that book. And it will be unhauled somewhere eventually. Number 7. A series you have no interest in reading or a series you started and have DNF'd. So for me, I know a lot of people said this one as well. It would be the Cassandra Clare series. The Immortal Instruments, is that what it's called? The series that never seems to end. There's like new books out constantly. It's like the Sarah J Maas. Like, there's constantly new books coming out, and I'm just like, okay, like, what's going on? I don't know. I don't care enough to know. And I actually watched 10 episodes of the Immortal Instruments. Is that what it's called? I want to say like Immortal Instruments, but is it like Infernal? No, that's another. Okay, anyways, that's a whole other thing. And I only kept watching it because it was so bad it was entertaining. I'm like, how am I supposed to take a book seriously, or on the TV show seriously, when the motorcycle is powered by fairy power? And that's supposed to be taken seriously. Like, that's not a joke. And I was just like, I burst out laughing at that scene in the movie, in the show, and I was just like, is this supposed to be serious? Like, is he tell me he's joking, please. And he wasn't joking, and I was just like, if it was funny, I'd probably pick up the books and read it, like, but I can't take something like that seriously. Number 8, a new release you have no interest in reading. And I don't really keep up with new releases, but a possible upcoming new release that I have no interest in reading is the next Song of Ice and Fire book. I'm done with Game of Thrones. I'm done with Song of Ice and Fire. It's just been so long since I finished the books that are out that in order to read the next one, I'd probably have to reread, and I can't. Those books are so long and so dense that I don't want to. And you can't watch the TV series because there's so many subplots and differences in the books from the TV series. So I think what I will do is I will depend on other people to read the book for me and then read their summaries. We'll read a summary of the plot to know how this book ends. And I don't even think the upcoming one is the last book. I think it's like there's still more after that. Yeah, so that's the last question. Yeah, I'm sure lots of people have done this tag. If you haven't yet, do this tag. It's quite fun to rant about things. And thank you for watching.